to drill men on the field in rigid rows in marching in uniform patterns. Napoleon laid planks, I've been told, on the field so that his yokels could march in straight lines, because it's not natural to march in straight lines in sequence. And he tied the legs of his men together 18 inches apart so they could march uniformly. This turning a group of men into a machine, an irresistible, uniform, repetitive machine. This is what Cromwell discovered. And the turning of society into a great machine of repeatable, replaceable parts was the Gutenberg thing as it was extended to the military and so on.
But that is going now.
It is going, and in place of that you have the guerrilla.
Mm-hmm. Helped along enormously.
The guerrilla fighter, he may invade this studio at any moment to report or resist some outrageous thing said on this program. It's happened recently, as you know, in some of the talk shows.
Well, he can't do it here because we're cleverly evading that by taping this in advance. But I suppose the principle is the same. I suppose what is different in our time in particular is the idea of the urban guerrilla, isn't it?
Yeah. And we've had some strange examples of it up in Canada. But the sudden discovery of anonymity within the city, and in Quebec, the captors of Mr. Cross lived in the same house with the police on another floor and remained totally invisible for 6 weeks.
Should this not, under the theories you've been setting out, disappear as we begin to lead this more corporate life that you've talked about? Should not the anonymity, the cutoff, should they not disappear?
Anonymous is a strange thing. I'm just thinking about the peculiarities of anonymity. Siegfried Gideon has a wonderful chapter on anonymous history in Space, Time, and Architecture, in which he explains that all the things we do absent-mindedly, without any special awareness of their full intent, these are the things that create environments that, in effect, are anonymous history of our own inner lives. That just as we record the history of our inner lives on our faces, so corporately we record the history of our lives and our motives in the anonymous objects of the environment. All sorts of humble objects, whether ads or comics, all sorts of things of that type that constitute really the most revealing patterns of our inner lives.
I want to choose arbitrarily in the rather short space of time we have left and ask you a question that really has very little to do with what we've been talking about, but which I find very interesting. You've said anybody whose appearance strongly declares his role and status in life is wrong for television. Why is that?
Matching, not making. The old concept of casting, I'm not adequate here, but the concept of casting in Hollywood necessarily is very different from the concept of casting in TV. And I've noticed myself that one of the effects of TV on me is that as I walk around in the world, in the ordinary, say at airports or anywhere at all, I'm amazed at the number of people who I instinctively feel would be tremendous TV material. Now, whether these same people would be good movie material, I doubt. A natural movie person has to match some category. He's perfect for this category. I don't think you have to have categories for the TV casting in the same way that you do this simple correspondence of matching, one-to-one matching.
Then what was it about these people you saw at airports, for example, that made you think they'd be great for television?
Costume. Role-playing. Today, the airports and our airplanes and our business world, our streets are full of festive role-playing people in festive mood, going about their everyday lives as if they were medieval characters, with strange and unexpected hairdos and wonderful colors in their clothes and garments and patterns in the same. We hear about the ancient medieval clown wearing his motley, but amazing numbers of people today are dressed in motley.
This is cliche to archetype, is it?
Yes, I suppose you could say there's a retrieval of ancient cliche by means of the new cliche of TV surround. But TV viewers seem to go richly for role-playing and acting and love costumes. Now, here is where the big MIDI hassle is. The MIDI is a dress and not a costume. The mini was retrieved from ancient tribal cliche by TV. The midi is not an ancient form of costume. It's dress. It's private.
The midi came out of what? Costume movies shown on television?
No, the midi is just an ordinary dress.
I should say the maxi.
The maxi and the mini are costumes from other cultures. All tribal societies wear miniskirts, men and women alike. The Venus de Milo wears a miniskirt. But a miniskirt is a costume and is not a dress. And when you put on a costume of that tribal kind, you put on the power of the whole tribe. The miniskirt is power. The midi is merely a private preference. It's personal and individual. The mini is not personal. It's tribal and corporate and is pure power. And so that's where the hang-up is, if you can talk about hang-up in mini. It's a form of high-rise which has tremendous power behind it. It is high-rise architecture and miniskirts have much in common. Both are returns to the module, the repetitive module. But yes, the mini and the midi are examples of cliche to archetype that we could spend a long time on.
Professor McLuhan, we have unfortunately only 1 minute left.
All right.
You may not think that's so unfortunate, but could I ask you, what guidance would you offer ordinary people to find their way through life as it is today in about 30 seconds?
Well, I think we live in one of the richest, in fact, incomparably the richest age of all human history. There is nothing even remotely approaching the riches of human experience and knowledge and the diversity of human condition today, and our access to all times and places and all pasts and presents and all futures contained in the present today. I can't imagine anything more rich or exciting. On the other hand, if you say a guide, surely the guide is simply to use our perceptions to their maximal powers of enjoyment. I suggest that we begin to consider the world as we have now presented it as a spectacle of very rich enjoyment.
Thank you very much, sir. Marshall McLuhan has been speaking freely. Edwin Newman, NBC News.
Thank you, and it's so much more comfortable here than when we started. It's warmer, and I'm sorry that you didn't get to ask many questions, but because I would have enjoyed playing with more.